if we can relate it to Everton and Sean Dyche, if results, performances carry on the way they're going at the moment, and Friedkin comes in as we're expecting in December, it's not going to be long before Sean Dyche has shown the door himself. Friedkin then. Let's move on to them. I know you're going to be doing a couple of pieces on this today,
done one
Chris.
already, another one on the way,
Roma have sacked head coach Ivan Juric following Sunday's 3-2 home defeat to Bologna and are searching for their third manager of the season. Basically, he replaced Daniel De Rossi, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he's basically the eighth. He's only the manager for 8 months after Jose Mourinho left De Rossi, yes. So I found this very unprecedented and a little bit strange that usually when you get a new owner, you've got no idea what they're like because they don't usually own a football club. But we're literally, it's playing out and we're seeing exactly what Friedkin are like. Ruthless, yes. I think that is, to ring true. Also maybe a little bit of a concern that they're not picking the right manager, the right man. For me, I don't know what your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it was. On the one hand, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about Dan Friedkin as a person, as a businessman, safe pair of hands, not prone to hysteria. I'm going to come on to all this. Obviously, it's well known that he's a skilled aviator himself. He flew Jose Mourinho himself into Rome when he was hired. Same with Romelu Lukaku as well. Obviously, he comes from a family of aviators. His grandfather was one of the first budget airlines in the US, and I think his father was an accomplished pilot as well. So he comes a long line of that. And for billionaires, he's got some wholesome hobbies. He's big on his conservation. Interesting today on our Mr. Stay, one of the things he's big on is repatriating the bodies of American servicemen killed in the Pacific in the Second World War. So, he seems a good egg in that respect, in compared to what some other billionaires and their extracurricular activities. But from a footballing point of view, at Roma, as we said, hired and fired Mourinho, who delivered their first European trophy since the 1960s. He then went on to Daniel De Rossi, so totally sort of change of tack there in terms of because I think De Rossi was quite inexperienced as a coach, possibly just in Serie B, so he brought him in, handed him a 3-year contract over the summer, and then sacked him like less than a month into this season. And it's not like they'd lost all their games 5-0. I think they'd drawn most of them and then lost one. So he went, and in comes Juric, who was experienced coach in Serie A, spent 3 years at Torino. And he's gone now after less than 2 months. We've got an article already up today reporting Italy saying he was sacked before he even got back to the dressing room. I mean, we thought it was Ancelotti was bad because remember when after Beckford did his mazy run, his George Weah impression, Ancelotti was sacked before he even got out of Goodison. Well, Juric had been sacked before he even got back to the Roma dressing room. Maybe as a lesson to him to keep his phone on silent or to keep it off when he's working. But yeah, ruthless is one way of looking at it. But like you say, another way of looking at it is he appointing the right people? Because if he's on his third manager in one calendar year, I mean, Moshiri's gone through 8 in 8 years. He's never sacked 2 in the same season. So what do we take from that?
I mean, if I can maybe just carry on with it, Gav. Tell me what you think about Friedkin, but if we can relate it to Everton and Sean Dyche, if results, performances carry on the way they're going at the moment, and Friedkin comes in as we're expecting in December, it's not going to be long before Sean Dyche has shown the door himself.
Well,
that's just from my personal
point of view. It's his final year of his contract, so slightly different, isn't it? Really, he's not just started his contract. But going back to Chris's point, because you need to talk about that, I think, before we talk about Everton, is Italian football is different to British football, isn't it? The way of getting that way is that they've always hired and fired managers, far more regularly than what we have done in the Premier League, until we got to Watford, I think, probably. So I think that you've got to remember here that the culture of Italian football is slightly different. Ancelotti got sacked at half-time, didn't he? Juventus in 2001 when he go off in Serie A, so
he did well to make it to the end of the game.
Getting sacked in the main stand after the game is not the worst sack Ancelotti's had, and you think of Ancelotti's stature in the game. So I think in mentioning there's a slightly different culture in Italian football that's been there since the big money came in the early 60s. That's the first thing to say. The second thing is, I'd say, use the word ruthless about them. there. But Machiri's done something similar in terms of changing the manager regularly at Everton, albeit less frequently. But have you ever described Machiri as being ruthless or just stupid or daft? Do you know what I mean? I don't think we've ever really said that.
I think when Koeman went, I think you could say, obviously I don't know.
You know what I mean?
It was fairly early in the season, wasn't it?
Yes, it was October, wasn't it?
But you've done calling him ruthless, but in retrospect, you could say that was ruthless.
Yeah, but since then, has he been? Would you say he's been ruthless? But more than often than not, it's been criticism for the type what we're saying about appointing the wrong manager, not knowing what he's doing. You know, but we're saying for the Friedkins, they're being ruthless. Well, actually, are they? Or they? I mean, it's interesting.
Don't take ruthless as what I say. Ruthless as being either a positive or a negative. I just think it's ruthless, off the bat. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Not. I'm judging about ruthless of like we've got these high standards. You haven't achieved them, but I'm shown you can't very early on. So we're going to get rid of you. I don't. That's what I'm coming from. So I think it's Everton and Roma are completely different, but we just have to be careful here. Actually, it may just be bad footballing decisions. It was interesting, wasn't it? I think they thanked us saying that they thanked his hard work over the past few weeks.
Yeah,
it's just like, not past few years, or over the past few weeks. And so Italian English football is different. I wouldn't say necessarily ruthless. I think there's maybe a little bit more going on there. I also say, before we get to Everton, is there was an interesting thing from Gabriel Marcotti, who knows far more about this than ourselves, obviously, great year and is hugely knowledgeable about Italian football. He said that they've been using consultants as part of the decision at Roma, which is slightly worrying. If you
pick your Everton manager that way,
and also do you start using consultants at Everton? Well, that's not really within our ethos now, how we should be operating, and that was interesting. But I think Everton, I'm not sure whether it be the same thing at Everton, really. I think we're in a slightly different position to Roma. So if you were Dyche, I don't think you'd be looking at that, what's happened at Roma the weekend, thinking my chances of getting sacked at Everton have now increased when the Friedkin group comes in compared to what they were before the weekend. So I don't think we should be apples and pears, I think, comparing Roma and Everton for many different reasons. But it does give an insight, doesn't it, in the way they operate. It's that use of consultants, that's not really something that doesn't ring true with me. I think I'd be worried if they get into that aspect at Goodison.
I say poor old Juric, when he said we last the season, he didn't mean autumn.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just interesting to see how they operate. But I don't think that necessarily be the way they operate in English football.
I don't particularly care how they operate as such. If they want to just hire a manager who has complete control over the football club from top to bottom, then that's fine. If they want to hire a director of football who oversees everything from top to bottom, including hiring the manager, then that's fine with me. But you've got to let that person do the job. For me, you're looking at bringing in a director of football right now.
You're talking at Everton?
Yeah, at Everton now, sorry. And, building the foundation, laying the foundation and building the infrastructure up at the club.
So get rid of Thelwell, they're saying?
Well, Thelwell's leaving anyway, or his contract is up at the end of the season.
There's been rumours that he wanted to leave in the past few years at a certain point.
So yeah, there's obviously that to contend with. There's obviously Dyche to contend with. There's obviously results to contend with. I think I've got on record over the past couple of weeks, bearing in mind that my mind could change if results do not pick up, that the best thing for Friedkin is not to make a decision during the season.
Yeah, we said that last week,
but
didn't we?
Obviously, if things carry on the way they're going, or if results don't pick up and we end up, in the relegation zone, or we end up losing this during this period, I think a decision is probably going to be made. That's just me looking at how Friedkin operates and how just football is in general. But a little bit concerned for me.
Yeah.
Just a little bit concerned how they're operating at Roma.
Well, the other thing as well is in the boardroom. I think the most senior person in the boardroom was only appointed in June, wasn't he? So, I mean, there's obviously the CEO decided on the...
Yeah, she went after the De Rossi sacking.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of change in a very short space of time, both football related and boardroom related at Roma, and that's also shines a light on how they operate. this is a wider thing, isn't it? It's in football. It's going off on the tangent, but it is all because somebody has made a lot of money in business, private business, and has been hugely successful, which they obviously have, and made loads of great decisions. Proper culture, as Chris has alluded to, is football is it's sport, so it's a completely different part of business, and football within sports is completely different itself, obviously because of the money and what's going on the game, and those skills, business skills that you learned in sort of normal business, as it were, don't transfer at all into football. We can think of loads of people over the years that have been hugely successful, come to a football club, lost a load of money. Mm-hmm. Through bad decision making, not employing the right people, not having the knowledge of your environment. The current chairman's testimony to that for the start, isn't he? Non-chairman, the current owner, is testimony to that. And I think of loads of people who've done that. Randy Lane lost load, didn't he? In a fella. So we need to have that caveat against the Friedkins coming in. Yeah, they've got lots of money. They know what to do. They know what they're doing in the businesses that they operate in. They don't know what they're doing in football because they haven't been in football long enough, and this is what we're seeing a little bit of
in Roma. I think that's the thing, though. I think that was the thing with Mashiri as well. You can't really tell a billionaire what to do because they've been hugely successful in their life. They've made a huge amount of money. They've probably been advised in certain areas of their life or certain areas of the business life, but they would look at it as, well, I'm successful, I've made all this money, I'm the one in charge, the decisions stop with me. And I think that's fair enough, like you're saying, in the business world, but I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I just think it's very difficult to translate that over from a business world to a sporting world.
Yeah, it's impossible, I think, in some respects. You're learning a skill.
You employ people around you, don't you?
Leave the football decisions to the football people, I guess.
Look at the dare I say, I don't want to do this, but a good example is look at what FSG have done across the park.
They're a good example, aren't they, in a way?
That's the type of thing that you need to do, and that's what they need to do at Goodison. I don't know I know about what's gone on at Roma, but it's obviously something that's not happened there in some respects. So we'll see, but it's a reminder to Everton supporters and fans in general, somebody coming in with a shed load of money, who's hugely successful, and these are the saviours of the club, may not necessarily be the case, and we just have to see how it pans out.
I think they're probably the better or the best option that we've got available to us right
absolutely,
now. And that's not on detriment to them either.
Yeah.
I think if this takeover doesn't happen, I think we're in a bit of a world of trouble, aren't we?
Though strange enough, somebody told me who's closer to it than me, obviously, said that actually they thought on a poor football and perspective Texter was the better option. He's got more experience and wider experience in football than the Friedkins. He just hasn't got their money, and obviously he's got this, the albatross round the back of the over the palace.
Yeah.
Shares. But I can see that. I can see why you would say that, because he's
got a multi-club model, hasn't he?
And that for a number of years, and a wider experience. Why he would have been a better option. And I sort of get that. But Friedkins,
even though he seems a bit of a loose cannon,
but from purely from a footballing knowledge angle, he was the better option. Even though, as you say, you'd have given us plenty to talk about, wouldn't he, in the pod? And I sort of understand the Friedkins have obviously got a lot to learn, haven't they?
Andy Whitty says the Friedkins have turned Roma around off the pitch, which I think, having done some reading a couple of weeks ago, I don't think that was hard, because the previous owner before the Friedkins wasn't the best, was it?
And you're the biggest club in the capital.
He was another American, wasn't he, Lottie?
Biggest club in the capital city of Italy, so you're going to have more options and greater chance of doing that. But it's just interesting as now that Friedkin thing has changed since you become interested in Everton. Would you probably really?
2 comments to finish off. Andy Whitty, you're having a laugh. Texter, the best option.
No, I didn't say that. I said Texter. Somebody told me, and I sort of get what they were saying. That Texter was in terms of pure footballing knowledge and experience, that Texter was a better option than the Friedkin group based on his work within the game.
He'd stick up for your team, you'd imagine, in various situations, good or bad.
In terms of what you want from a prospective owner and the wealth aspect of it, and the fact that he's been, he's got the Crystal Palace shares, he's obviously not the best option.
And Raymond Malone says, wow, this downer on the Friedkins and giving Dyche a free ride. I don't think we are being down. I just think we're just discussing it, aren't we?
What it is, it's just a reminder that people do not get seduced by the fact that people have been hugely successful in non-footballing business and have earned a load of money that they want to invest in your club. That means that you will therefore follow the success that they've had in their other businesses. It doesn't work like that in football. And it has never worked like that. And that's what we just have to be careful of here in terms of, what our aspirations are and what we want. It could work out fantastically, but it involves them making the right footballing decisions, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I don't think we're giving Dyche a free ride, to be honest. No. I think we've been very critical.
We get stick on that sometimes. I don't think that's been the case on the podcast at all.
Yeah, from a balance point of view, we've been very critical. And I think, from my personal point of view, whether I like Dyche or not, or whether you like Dyche or not, I think it's fair to say the club are not going to sack Sean Dyche until, a decision is not going to be made regardless until the Friedkins come in. That's my
and even then, I think it'll be the last resort.
Yeah, so I think that, I'm not saying you have to accept that, but I think that is the case.
Yeah, for all the reasons we discussed last week, I think. But that doesn't necessarily mean that actually those people who say Dyche should go are wrong, or I fully understand why people say that. I mean, as much for the style of football as much as the results, I fully understand that. But whether that happens is a completely different question, isn't it? And we've discussed at length last week about the reasons why that probably won't happen in the near future.